viewers, this is Wolf here. Welcome to Wolf's Haven and to another Monster Hunter figure review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Capcom figure builder creators model, Lunastra. Now, Lunastra was a statue that I've been waiting for a while since I got to first experience it in Monster Hunter World, and I personally thought that Lunastra was a really cool monster, especially with its chemistry with Teostra and how they had a combined super attack together in that game. And design-wise, Lunastra just looks really cool, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how it looks in figure model here. So if we take a look at the box here, Lunastra comes in a pretty large box, much larger than your typical creator's model packaging here. If we take a look to the sides, of course, we have this cool-looking design here with a side profile of Lunastra here, looking pretty cool. And then onward to the back of the box, of course, we're just going to get a couple of shots of Lunastra here, a lot of face shots, which shows a bit of the detail there, which this is actually looking pretty cool just from the pictures by itself. And then, of course, we have this final side here, which this is a pretty cool looking box with the blues and purples here. So, without any further ado, we're going to open this up and then see what this Lunastra figure looks like. So with Lunastra completely out of the box here, I have to say that this Lunastra model looks absolutely stunning. Lunastra's design along with the pose here and the overabundance of this nice blue color blending with the purples, I feel makes this statue very eye-catching, and just overall this design comes through very well in figure form. So if we just take a close look at Lunastra's design here, there's definitely a lot of things that look pretty good with this model in my opinion. So one of the things that I really like is Lunastra's mane here. I do love how it's detailed, where we have like the various different sections of the hair sweeping down from the back down toward the front here, completely wrapping around the neck and completely covering up the neck here, pretty much like a lion's mane, which I think is very cool here. There's quite a bit of separation, which does show like the different layers of the mane there, which I think is cool. This part here of the mane, closer to the eye, looks really good, separating itself from the rest at the back as well. There is quite a bit of detail. If we bring Lunastra much closer here, there's quite a bit of detail on the eye as well. It might be a little bit hard to see there, but we do have a yellow sclera there with a black pupil in the center. And it is quite noticeable, which I do appreciate. It does look pretty good. And then there's quite a bit of detail on Lunastra's mouth area. A lot of the teeth, the fangs, look very detailed. They look rigid. And they have some good texturing going on with some of these grooves and different like subtle details on them, which look really good. The tongue, which might be a little bit hard to see in there, does look good as well. And just overall, the face looks very detailed. Even the nose, you can definitely make out the nostrils on the sides of Lunastra right here as well. Lunastra's crown right up here looks very good as well, with a very nice texture with a lot of these cracks going through the crown here. This whole structure looks very rigid, and I just love the different color variations going throughout the crown here. Overall, this looks very good. The facial detail is very solid here, especially with what the ear, Lunastra's ears, look very good with a lot of the scales around it, looking very textured. If we pan down just a little bit here, we can see more of Lunastra's chest area here, which has these layered, I guess, scales that kind of just jut downward like this, which I think is a very cool design. Just how they're layered on top of each other looks really good. Looking to the forearms, there's quite a bit of color variation here as well, where right where the mane kind of meets the top of the forearm, we do have this purple color around the scales, which does slowly, ever so slightly transition down into these various blues, some of these little black colors as well, going all the way down. It's very nicely textured here too, with a lot of the scales and these different like sections that are kind of separated from each other, which do look very good. When we look at this raised paw here, we can take a look at Lunastra's claws, which do look really good. They do have some grooves on them, looking very detailed. And yeah, it's just the overall, almost like armor around the body, just looks very solid, very clean, and it's just a good looking display here. If we take our attention to Lunastra's hind leg here, we have these very long and like really large spikes that kind of jut out over the knee, I suppose, right here, which almost acts like a bit of armor over the leg here, which looks very good. There is a bit of color variation on them as well when we get to the tips of these spikes, which look pretty cool. And then just more of that layered scales going over the leg and then kind of wrapping their way down, all the way down to the bottom of the hind legs there as well, which look really good. Taking our attention to the back of Lunastra here, we're going to look at these wings, and these wings look absolutely beautiful. Again, so much color variation all throughout the entirety of the wings of Lunastra. We have these black sections that are closer to the musculature of the wings, looking very good. The blacks do transition into this gradient down into the blue here, which then goes out into these purples toward the end of the wingtips, which does look really good. We can see a bit of a continuation if we look towards Lunastra's hair, or the mane rather. We can see as it comes down, the hair kind of continues down into the back of the body. We can kind of see the hair getting more and more pronounced the further it does go down the tail here. We have like this big section of the fur right here, and then it goes all the way down to this point in the tail here, which does look good. I do like how there's like a difference in the texture, conveying the fur and the scale separation here, which is very good. And then, of course, as we approach the tail, the end of the tail has a very eye-catching design here, where the scales end right here, and then we end up getting like this massive puff of like white fur towards the very end of the tail here, which looks very good. I like how it kind of sweeps upward like this as well, and yeah, it just looks very good, especially from the underside as well here. We can see like little pieces of the fur kind of separating from itself, and yeah, overall it's just a very solid design. On the end of the tail here, in between some of these blues and purples, we can actually see some black scaling going in between the little armored sections, which do look really good actually, especially on the sides right in here. So overall, this is a very good looking model here. I do like how the ends of Lunastra's wings, the wingtips here, do look very distressed, very disheveled, and like almost ripped here. Damaged. Like, I think that's a very cool looking aesthetic here. Lunastra is like an aged monster. It's been through fights, so this is a very cool looking aesthetic here. And then of course, the spikes on the ends of the wings here attached to the musculature. There's a bit of a brown color here, and these spikes feel very sharp. They feel very rigid as well, so all of that looks very good. The other thing that I like about this model as well is the base here, which makes a lot of sense given Lunastra's abilities. It's standing on a molten environment here. We can see like these molten rock with a lot of these streams of lava flowing in between them, which looks very good. Like, I do like how the lava has some different color variation on it as well, pooling up towards the back here, which is very nice. But overall, yeah, the base is looking quite good. So I think overall, like, this is a very solid statue. I think that they did a very good job modeling Lunastra here, and bringing it into the creator's model line as well. So the other thing that I like about this statue is, of course, the pose. I think that with this pose, Lunastra is going to look good in almost any angle that you put it. Of course, you're probably going to want to have it front on like this, which of course looks good because I do like the angle of the wings here, which almost gives Lunastra a bit of almost like an M shape, which does look good. You do see like it does have a good silhouette to it as well. You do get the tail in the background as it kind of flows upwards, and then the majority of Lunastra's mane here, as it kind of looks like Lunastra's about to step toward you. A very cool looking design. Obviously, like, the mane is very front and center, and I do think that the mane is probably like the most eye-catching part of Lunastra's design here. So front on looks good, and then of course if you display it towards the side, you get a good picture of the molten base with a lot of Lunastra's side profile here. Getting a good picture of course, the majority of the wing here, but then you get to see some of the sides of the crown of Lunastra and more of the mane there as well. You get to see more of the tail on this side as well. So overall, it's a nice looking display. A good pose that they chose with this, with Lunastra almost like it's approaching you very slowly. So here I just wanted to give you an idea of the scale of Lunastra here. So as you can see, with Lunastra stacked up against these cans, Lunastra is about 1.5 cans tall, maybe just a little bit over that. And for a more precise measurement, Lunastra actually measures up to about 10.5 inches tall. And with the wingspan, Lunastra is about 9 inches wide. So this is quite a large statue. It is going to take up quite a bit of vertical space in a display area, and you're of course going to need some width as well. This is not a very small statue. It's pretty big just based off of this. So, and I feel like this size definitely does a good job of conveying the largeness of Lunastra while allowing them to pump in as much detail as they could into a lot of stuff like the mane and the wings and whatnot. But this is definitely what you're going to be looking at in terms of the scale of Lunastra. It is a pretty large statue, so if you plan on picking it up, keep that in mind. So that pretty much covers everything in regards to the Capcom Figure Builder Creators Model Lunastra. If I were to go on to my final thoughts here, I think overall this is a very solid statue here. I haven't really had any issues with this or any things I really dislike about how they've modeled the Lunastra. Everything here looks quite good. The color detail, the color accuracy, a lot of the smaller details around the entirety of the body when it comes to the mane, the wings, the legs, and everything like that, especially the very end of the tail where we had that like big puff of fur at the very tips of the tail there. All of this stuff looks very good, even the base and the pose. Everything about this statue is done very well. It's modeled very nicely, and I think that if anybody was looking to pick up a Lunastra, if Lunastra is one of your favorite monsters in the series, I think that this is worth considering. The only thing with this is that this is going to be an expensive model. I do feel that the creators models have stepped up in price, so if we take a look at the price, Lunastra is going to run you down about $129 US, and then if we translate that into Canadian, it's about $182 Canadian. So it's a pretty expensive figure, especially for the scale, I would say. Like, for that price, I would kind of want something a little bit bigger. But honestly, if you feel that it's worth it, I don't think that you're going to be disappointed in the quality here. There's not really anything here that I personally feel is lacking, and it's a very solid-looking statue. But with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys found it informative. There's definitely going to be a lot more Monster Hunter content and figures coming in the future, so I hope you guys stay tuned for all of that. But until then, I hope you guys have a good day or good night, depending on where you are, and I will see you all later.